good to see you, Andy.
Out of suffering have emerged the strongest souls. The most massive characters are seared with scars. This Kahlil Gibran quote exemplifies the startup life journey, yeah? Whew. Our guest has accrued his fair share of seared scars. After 22 years in and out of correctional institutions, he now helps formerly incarcerated folks find their way back through into life through the journey of entrepreneurship. You ready for an inspirational and transformational conversation? Me too. Stay tuned for the Startup Life Live Show. Let's glow. Here it comes. Here comes the music and... Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Startup Life Live Show. I'm your host, Ande, Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, I now share founders' startup stories to help newly minted business owners find the solutions and inspiration they need to succeed. I'm so grateful you carved out time to tune in and up your founder game while cheering on a fellow founder, because you never know, a new resource, tool, solution, an aha moment can happen when you hear another founder's journey. If you're joining us live today, please share a howdy in the comments. And if you're watching via replay, share a hashtag replay so I can swing by and say hello to you. And if you like the founder stories and gems you're hearing today, please share this video wherever you are with your community or on your feed. And if you resonate with the show's mission of amplifying diverse founder voices while serving first-time founders around the world, please consider supporting the Startup Life Live Show with your sponsorship via Patreon. And thank you for sharing your like love on this video wherever you're watching, because we are live right now on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Periscope, on Facebook, and Twitch. So if you're tuning in from YouTube, please share your subscribe love and a click on the bell icon for alerts. Thank you so much. All of this like love really helps us reach more first-time founders around the world to help them maximize the joy and minimize the heartache from their startup life. So I am so excited to introduce you to today's guest. Let me just bring up the slide so we can take in his deliciousness while I tell you all about him. So after spending 22 years in and out of correctional institutions, our amazing guest, Quan Huynh, was paroled from a life sentence in 2015 and created his first company 6 months later. Described as a mighty warrior, a magician, and a mountain of goodness, Quan is the best-selling author of Sparrow and the Razor Wire, Finding Freedom from Within while Serving a Life Sentence. Quan is also the Senior Post-Release Program Manager for Defy Ventures. And this is an amazing nonprofit, folks. I hope you go and check them out at defyventures.org. This is a nonprofit helping those with a criminal past transform their lives through the journey of entrepreneurship. And you talk about a forgotten community. Look at these folks celebrating here. How cool is that? I mean, we have so much to chat about today with this remarkable guest. Let me bring him into the room so we can get the clappers out and celebrate. Woohoo! It's Quan Huynh! Yay! Welcome to the show, Quan.
Hi, Andy.
So, I know that there's some
me.
I'm so happy to have you here. And I know we're having a little technical difficulties, but we're going to work through them because you have so much great information to share with the folks today during this conversation. And hey, Karthi, I was just celebrating you the other day, thinking of you. Thank you for tuning in. We have a community of folks who are really forgotten, and we need to shine a light on them. And we're going to do that today. So I'm so happy that you're tuning in to hear about Quan and his story and his entrepreneurship journeys. So Quan, where are you hailing from?
I am from Orange County in Southern California.
There we go. So beautiful part of the world. I'm all the way across the country up here in Boston, Massachusetts. Those of you tuning in, if you want to share, let us know where you're hanging from so we can wave from the room. And also remember, it's so important here in the Startup Life Live show. We love to amplify startup founders and their journeys. So please share your business name, your one-liner, and the website URL in the comments so that we can celebrate the incredible work you are doing in the world. And remember, you can also pop questions and comments in the comment threads, as you've seen it happen many times before, so that we can engage and have more conversation and also answer any questions that you might have around your own startup journey, because we're here to add wind to each other's sails, right, everybody? That's what the Startup Life is all about. Yay. So happy to see you too, Karthi. And be sure to share your remarkable work in the world, okay? You have a phenomenal business and you're kicking it. You really are, goddess. And hey, BB Fabulous. Thank you. Oh, it's Asia. Yay. Hi, Asia. Thanks for tuning in via Twitch. Asia is a wonderful friend of the Startup Life Live community, Quan, and she's really a remarkable woman out there in the world. So, hey, everybody go visit Asia at her website, which I'm for my listeners on the podcast, is asialakai.net. Woohoo! So let's talk a little bit about why, one of the things that's really important and why I really wanted to have Quan on the show is that we need, and I'm going to just put it out there, everybody, because you got to ask, we need to get this book, Sparrow in the Razor Wire, into as many correctional facilities as possible to help those folks inside. So check out the QR code or go to the URL bit.ly/Sparrow in the Razor Wire and buy one for yourself, donate. Don't, send some to buy a few for Quan, and he'll tell you more about that. So back to you, Quan, after I did all my housekeeping. So happy to have you here. So let's dive into your origin story. 22 years in and out of correctional institutions. What happened? What shifted? Tell us how you got where you were, and let's talk a little bit about how you transitioned to where you are today.
Yeah, sure. Where should I start? I grew up in Provo, Utah. Came to the United States when I was a toddler, and moved out here to California when I was 10. My father was diagnosed with leukemia as a kid, so that's why we moved out here to get closer to his family. Sure. He ended up passing away when I was 13, and after that, I never dealt with his death. I didn't know how to grieve it.
Right.
And when they talk about toxic masculinity, thinking like this is what it means to be a man, it's not to show any feelings. I bought into all of that and ended up running with on street life, and my first arrest came at 17. And from there began a long path of going in and out of correctional institutions. Ultimately, I committed a murder in 1999. I shot and killed a human being by the name of Min Nguyen in Los Angeles. Was tried for the death penalty, was given they found me guilty of second-degree murder and was given a 15-year to life sentence, which basically at the time in the state of California meant a death sentence, because they were not paroling anybody that had any type of life sentence since 1977.
Wow. So you were looking at life in prison. And I'm just curious, what shifted for you? Because something happened to turn you into this mountain of goodness and this fierce warrior that you are today. What light went off? Was it transitional? Did it happen over a period of time? Did you have an awakening? Did something prompt it? Was there a learning that you had?
Yeah, there were several things, I would say. I've always been a bookworm, so throughout my prison sentence, I continued to read. And I have this habit of going down rabbit trails for different books. Like I'll read the book, I get so fascinated, then I read the acknowledgments, see what else, who else influenced the author, and I go down these rabbit trails and go into it. And it was about the 10th or 12th year of my sentence, I somehow stumbled on books about the saints, particularly stories about saints that had failed in some way or another, and yet went on to create amazing legacies, and which began to like stir something within me. So then I go down rabbit trails of like mindfulness and spirituality and started reading into those. Also around that time, I think I got a picture of my niece. It's my younger brother's daughter, and she looked exactly like mother as a little baby, and it just took me back to like me being a kid. Like, what happened to my life? How did I end up here? And it was around that time, so I'm just thinking of my head's filled with all these readings, meditations, and personal development books. And it was just one day on the prison yard, I was standing at the fence, and then I told myself, like, why does prison have to be punishment? Why can't this be a place that I could still remake myself, even if I'm supposed to die in here? And I realized I could. It's a place where I could practice all these things that I'm fascinated by. And just that subtle shift in thinking, like, started to change the world for me. Like, I remember the sun was coming up over the hills. I could feel its warmth. And on the little blades of grass, I could see the individual drops of dew. And up above me in the razor wire, that's where I heard the sparrow chirping. And I tell everybody, you know, it would probably have been chirping my whole prison term, but I never heard it. But that day I heard it. And from that day, prison was no longer punishment. It just became a place where I felt like I could remake myself every day, and I began to connect with other human beings. You know, many of them much further along, some of them perhaps not even awakened yet, but I looked at every day as an opportunity to improve myself and to just become a better human being. And what has transformed for me.
Yeah, and it's amazing when the seed gets planted and what you were reading, and then the photo, and brought an awareness of who you were, because as you say right there on your website, you know, you were not born to be a murderer, right? You were born to be fully actualized, fully expressed human in life.
When I came to that realization that I was born a murderer, then I realized it was a long series of wrong choices over the course of like millions of wrong choices of my life. But understanding that also gave me inspiration. That means I can just from here make correct choices every single moment, at every day, to make myself a better person. And that's just how I approached every single day in prison after that moment.
Wow. And yeah, this is so important for all of us to take in, because Quan, facing this sentence, which was basically for life, had a willingness and an openness to pursue a better experience for himself and a better understanding for his life. So we can all take that in as founders, right? We are always, there's room for improvement, for healing, for letting go of limiting beliefs that keep you from being the best founder possible for your business. There's just so much to take in from Quan's story. So Quan, how did you get parole? Like, what happened? Did you start doing things inside that brought awareness to people of, wow, this person is transforming? What happened?
So after like my Sparrow and the razor wire moment, then I checked in with a therapist to start talking about my father and his death. This is like, what, 25 years after he had passed away. And that's when I began the grieving process. And of course, being the bookworm, I'm fascinated with topics on grief and loss. And I studied a bunch of what Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote about, and then started researching what other people talk about. And that gave me a different type of awareness. And then I realized, like, men around me were facing all types of grief. There's all types of loss that we're not only just, okay, family members that have passed away, there's family or partners that have left them, or friendships that have been uprooted because they're moved from one prison to another and they've lost friendships. And so I saw it all around. I go, man, everyone's suffering and no one has a place to heal from this. So I put a syllabus together and submitted to the prison psychologist, and he loved it. So I think within a couple of weeks, we started the prison's first ever grief and loss group, which was cool because then I was inside and I saw the waiting list was long inside, and men were just hungry to share and to begin grieving and I guess to vent, but there was no way to talk about it. So in these groups, that's when the first time I saw, like grown men able to cry or shed a tear for the first time. And then suddenly for me, I just felt even more alive. And what I found something, I suddenly have meaning in my life for once, and that had me fascinated with creating other groups and getting involved with other groups and bonding with other men that were on this path. And we began looking at what else can we create? And within a few years, I saw our little movement basically changed the culture of the prison yard from one of violence and anger and bitterness to one of self-respect and dignity and nonviolent communication. And because of course, being the book where I got fascinated with nonviolent communication and facilitating groups and how do you do this? And so I started incorporating a lot of stuff we were
emotional
doing.
literacy.
Yes, exactly, emotional literacy. And then all of that began to just, I would say, build perfect.
I have such goosebumps all over my body. Was this a federal facility or a state?
No, it was a state. It was a California state prison.
Because I don't know if anybody else who's listening or watching sits there and goes, well, what do you mean you don't have grief counseling inside? Right? I mean, you would think that would be, hey, let's go. But, so many institutions, correctional facilities are about just you serving the time. They're not about lowering the recidivism rate and helping you have a second chance. That is so, so powerful. Let's just say a quick hello. Prepare for VC. Thank you. And thank you, Prepare for VC, for all the work you do to help founders raise money and become literate with their pitch decks. He says, happy to be here. Thank you both for all the work you do. And Steve Vilkes, who is really an incredible, the glue within our Boston startup community. Quan, he's an amazing person. Happy to be here in support of a noble mission. And just because I promise, I love to celebrate founders' work in the world. Let's just bring up Kathy because she's sharing. Her business is Golden Hour, and folks, that's GOALDEN. And she's building, and her team are building a productivity tool to help people find, set, and achieve their goals. We've recently pivoted. Oh, I love that. It's all about reiteration. Yeah. We've recently pivoted our target market to focus on helping justice-involved individuals re-enter and reintegrate into society, which is I am so excited to hear. Oh, Quan. Yay. So everybody.
We need to connect.
Absolutely. And you can learn all about Golden Hour at GOALDENHOUR.com. Karthi, I am in love with that pivot. It is so, so important. And yes, Asia, I'm tearing up too because so many people are in pain and never heal. And learning how to grieve is a skill set, right, Quan? I mean, you have to learn how.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I mean, I had to first learn to grieve for myself. And I think understanding, let's say, getting some type of emotional literacy and understanding wait, this is what feelings are. And yes, I was angry and that's okay. And going through all that. And then that's when from there, I'm able to, once I can feel my own feelings, then I can start understanding, oh, now I'm starting to grasp the magnitude of what I have done. And now, how do victims of crime heal? And so just understanding the whole restorative justice movement. And then I was, of course, being a bookworm, I get fascinated with that and start reading into those and incorporating it into my walk and how I facilitated groups and just being involved in building, building ways for men in there to heal.
I love that. Something fierce. Hey, Hulda, how you doing? She says this is important. A lot of people that come out of prison are thrown into the world, and it's important to have a support group. Great job. Yay. And Karthi's, yes, let's connect, Quan, for sure. So I'll make sure that happens for both of you, okay? Because again, Karthi, congratulations on your pivot with Golden Hour. This is a really important community that needs to be served. I've been aware of the correctional facility world since 1994 when I helped my dear friend Robin Kassarjian get her book out, Houses of Healing, A Prisoner's Guide to Inner Peace. But, you know, it's not an easy task. So you started this wonderful grief support group. You saw transition happening out in the yard, which is, you know, gave you phenomenal feedback right away. How did you transition in your story to working your way into a parole opportunity?
Well, I think I just, by that time I felt alive. Like, okay, even if I'm on some forgotten corner of the world that nobody knows about, I am able to make an impact in this place. And that's just how I approach it today. Like, what does the universe have in store for me today? How can I make myself better? Like, what difficulty am I going to experience that's going to help me grow? And that's just how I approached it. It was in one of those groups I was involved with, the Alternatives to Violence Project, that tagline that I have, a mighty warrior, magician, and a mountain of goodness. There was a volunteer that came in from the streets, and we had these affirmation posters that we write after a 3-day workshop, and they write things. And this woman wrote to me, "You are a mighty warrior, a magician, and a mountain of goodness. You are the greatest treasure of my life." And I'm like, oh my God, so I just always held on to that. And now it's,
you embodied it and you embraced it. And I am a mountain of goodness, a mighty warrior, and a magician. Wow. Yeah. Isn't it great when someone holds up a mirror for us? And then we take it in. A lot of times people are like, that's not true about me. But you said, okay, I'm owning that. I'm doing the I am, the Wayne Dyer I am. I love that.
I like Wayne Dyer when he reading his books about that too. So yes.
Yeah. Well, Wayne Dyer has a great quote. I have it right on my wall here all the time, which is, "You are always a valuable, worthwhile human being, not because anybody says so, not because you're successful, not because you make a lot of money, but because you decide to believe it about yourself." All of this work is an inside job, and you were doing a phenomenal inside job while you were inside, Quan.
I like that. Yes.
So Asia's wondering, was it hard to get books in prison? How was the library at your state facility?
They have libraries at every prison. So, I mean, a quick victory is recently I just got my book approved for every single California prison law library. Books have to be paperback to go inside. Oh, Thank you. Yeah, so that was a huge win. I go, okay, California's down now. We have 49 more states to go, but
it can be done.
It can be done. It's not easy, but it can be done. It's just pounding the pavement and continuing to ask and ask and ask. I mean, you got Houses of Healing, and so Ande, it was not easy. That's what I had to deal with. Each prison has a different community resource manager, and I was luckily connected with the head librarian of all of the California prisons, and sent her my book, and I guess she read it. She's like, "Oh, yes, we approve this to be brought in."
And founders take that in. I mean, you talk about a big constraint, right? You trying to get a book into a prison, you think you could just drop it off and like, okay, I've done my job. These, anything that's brought in has to be approved and screened, and the process can be onerous. Had you been a writer before, Quan? How did you tap into this wonderful creative side of you?
Well, I think I was actually recognized for writing when I was a little kid in Utah. They sent me to a young authors conference when I was 8. When I came out here to California, they sent me to creative writing school for the UCI's creative writing school for summer school. I think when I was 11 or 12. And it wasn't until I was in prison doing a life sentence that I joined. It was after my change, the beginning of my change, and I joined a creative writing group. And I remember reading my first story in a group, and I was so nervous because everyone's quiet, and I go, "Oh my God, what do they think? What's gonna happen?" And then I looked up when I was done. I remember my heart was still thumping, and they're like, "Oh my God, that was good." And they like, "Have you always wrote?" And I go, "You know what? I just realized I stopped writing when I haven't written since I was like 12, and I didn't. Then it clicked in my head. I stopped writing after my father passed away, and I
Sure.
didn't write. Yeah, but I think once I started writing again, it was just like I journaled a lot after my change, and that really helped to. It became a great container to, I guess, to examine my thoughts and just to just sort them out. That's just what
Absolutely. And the process of writing, I mean, of course, many of us, we write really well with the keyboard, but the process of hand and paper is very, very powerful. So how did you get paroled in 2015?
So I, in the state of California, we go to the parole board. And like I said, they had not paroled anybody since 1977, up until this landmark ruling came down called Lawrence in 2007 by a woman prisoner named Sandra Lawrence, who fought her case all the way to the Supreme Court. And they ruled that, they said the state of California is not honoring what's the difference between a life without the possibility of parole and a life with the possibility of parole, because it doesn't look like California sees any type of difference. So that's when I think the first small little cracks opened. But then yet, like, she still was not released. They laid a whole list. I remember there was a whole list of factors of suitability. It said like no prior arrest, no violence in prison, no prison write-ups, higher education. So she had all of these things. And then on the other side, it said the factors of unsuitabilities, multiple arrests, gang member, and all these other things. I go, that's me.
Oh, great.
I fall squarely in this one, so I don't qualify. Yeah. Here, yep, that's me. Check. And I go, okay. So even when I wrote him down, I didn't see anyone, even because she still had to fight, because then, so the court says, okay, you have to grant her parole, and then she goes to the parole board grants her parole, but then the governor takes it and says, oh, you have to re-examine. So it's a whole politicized process, and they have to get ordered home from the court. So even up until I think 2011, 2012, men were still not getting paroled. The parole board can let them go, but the governors would not let them go. They have to fight it into the court. But most of those men that were going home were in their 60s, had done upwards of 30 years. But then we just started seeing wait, there is a little chance. And then I stumbled upon these parole hearing transcripts. Those are when you go to parole board, they issue you a transcript. And
you stumbled across them. I love that. Well, sounded like a kismet moment to me.
Yeah, because in prison, men don't share these transcripts. And I only hear about the parole board. I don't know what happens inside. And one of my friends, I'm not sure why, but maybe I think I know not why, but one day he decides, hey, you want to read my transcripts? And he had 7 of them, one for each hearing he had been in 30 something years. So when I read it, just light bulb just came on and go, this is what's happening. And what he told me happened to the parole in the hearing and what actually happened were 2 separate things. And I started noticing this is human nature to put our best, cast ourselves in the best light and kind of tell a narrative that's not true. And then of course this tied in line a lot with books I was reading on personal responsibility and making amends. So I go, I think I know why he's not getting paroled. And it's not because of his crime. It's because he's not fully embodied what it means to own and take any personal responsibility and own his choices. So I sat down, I said, I think I know why you're not going home. So him and I started sitting together. People in the day were like, what are you guys doing? And he tells them, oh, Quan's helping me prepare for the board. And they said, you guys are crazy. Quan's never been to the board. How can he help anybody? Well, one of my other friends decides to also sit with us. He went, yeah. So he goes to the parole board and is found suitable. And that's when it just what's going on? And Quan does know something, and guys started sitting with me. So it was we called it board prep, but basically I was coaching them to reflect to them, where are they off and what do I hear when they're saying certain things, get them to, I know the vast majority of them were sitting because they want to go home, which is fine. But me, I felt like I know this amazing secret already to freedom. And I feel crazy because I'm trying to share, nobody is listening. So I'm just continuing this is my ulterior motive. Regardless if they're found suitable or not, I want them to be free wherever they go. And that's just how I started approaching when I'm sitting with the men.
I love that. Hey, Brent, so good to see you. Thank you for sharing the show on Twitter. You're amazing. It is a great talk, because founders, we have a lot of limitations and constraints on our life. And what I love about Quan's story is, he did the work. He worked on himself, and he took a set of circumstances that seemed to be completely clear about what his path was going to be, and he changed it. And we can do that with our businesses and with other areas of our life. But not only that, I just get goosebumps so much, Quan, for how you served others. I just really get that part of your work in the world is so, so important. And for those who are popping in and saying hi and tuning in right now, I just want to remind you that we are here to support Quan getting his book, Sparrow in the Razor Wire, into every correctional facility in the country. So please buy, donate, hop on over to bit.ly/Sparrow in the Razor Wire, or scan this QR code if you're watching the video, and help out in any way you can. So your day for freedom happened. What was that like?
Oh, well, I remember inside the parole hearing, it was going really bad. Okay, they're going to deny me parole. It's going to be a multiple year denial. So I remember my attorney, because she told me this is not a fair hearing. But I feel sick, so I'm gonna say I don't feel good to move on. They'll have to postpone this hearing, and we'll go back in 6 months, and we're going to have a new hearing, and maybe the commissioners then will be fair. We won't see the same one, because the commissioner that I saw it was the second time I saw her. She denied me at my first hearing already, 5 years. But then I went back after a year and a half. I filed paperwork and went back in. So it was her again. I go, she's denying me. I'm getting screwed. But then when my attorney said it, I knew. Remember when we were talking about making the choices at each moment of our lives, and I knew, okay, this is a choice I'm making right here. If I choose to go with my attorney, that means we're choosing to not be honest in my sense. How does this live up with my parameters and my alignment of where my North Star is of holding myself accountable and making the right choices each day. So I told her, you know what, let's just go back in there. I was here to hold myself accountable, to be found suitable. So we went in there, I gave my closing statement and everything. And then, when they start reading the legal stuff, they're reading a whole long thing. And I was just, okay, how long is this now? How long? And then they said, we find that the prisoner is not currently dangerous. And I go, not currently dangerous, what? And I go, looked up at my attorney. She's like, we were both grinning from ear to ear. It's like, oh my God, these people found me suitable. So yeah, that's November of 2015. Is when I was finally paroled.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that story. That is so beautiful. And I know you go into a lot more details in your book, Sparrow and the Razor Wire. So when you got out, the transition, I know can be very challenging. You launched a business within 6 months of being paroled. Talk a little bit about how that idea came to you.
Yeah, so I was involved with Defy Ventures. This is the nonprofit I work for now, but back then I was involved with them.
Inside?
Hello?
Yes. Yeah, you were involved with them inside? Got it.
Yes. Because I was involved with a bunch of groups, and I remember they started there was a pilot program at Solano State Prison where I was at, and so they came to the prison, and then a couple guys in the yard go, hey, there's this new program on entrepreneurship, Quan, you might want to get involved. And I wasn't there that day, but I saw the packet. Usually prison packets, for sign up list for a group, is just a simple piece of paper, you're putting your name and your CDC number. This one was a 25, 30 page application packet. I was oh, this is the real deal. And I started filling it out. I got involved with them. And it was, of course, it was in alignment with everything I felt. It's not just entrepreneurship, but entrepreneurship is also the lens on viewing transformation and change. So we're talking about pivoting your life, because the program's called the CEO of Your New Life. So you're pivoting to your new life, and where's the lessons of grit and resiliency, and it culminates in a business pitch, which is judged Shark Tank style by like 40 or 50 volunteers that come in from the streets that are from the tech and venture capitalist space. So it was really exciting. I was involved with them. I paroled before I did my pitch. So I stayed involved with them after I came home. And I was working at my brother's real estate office. And, you know, I used to work in the prison hospital as part of the sanitation and cleaning crew. Like, it was a 4-person team, and we had that place spick and span clean. So I just had this little eye for detail and understanding it. So one day I found out that the building owner that my brother's real estate company was looking for a new janitorial company. So I asked my sister-in-law, can she give me the email of the building owner? And I said, so she gave me the email, and I got on to GoDaddy, and I started searching up like names, because in Defy they teach you like, okay, you have to find what's your business name. So I like, what am I going to call this? So I go Gold Janitors, Platinum. I wanted something to sound valuable, and all those names were taken. And then I said, Jade Janitors. You know, Asians, we love the jade stone. And I looked up jadejanitors.com. Wasn't taken, so I purchased it, $9.99. And I emailed the building owner. I said, my name's Quan Huynh. I'm the CEO and founder of Jade Janitors. And that's how I began the dialogue. That same day, he comes back and says, can you give me a copy of business license and certificate? So I didn't know what that was. I had to ask some family, and so you have to go to the county courthouse. So what are you trying to do? I go, I'm gonna do this right now. And I went to the county courthouse, got my business license, did the DBA all that same day, copied, scanned it, sent it to him that same day. And then he's like, can you give me a copy of your business insurance? So your janitorial insurance. So of course I didn't know what that was. So I got onto Google, what is janitorial insurance, and what are standard policies? And I go, okay, this is gonna be my first big gamble now. Like, if I purchase this, I think the policy is $400 plus signing for $80 a month for at least 1 year policy. And I looked up made sure that my policy was in line with standard policies, and it was. So I go, I'm gonna do it with no contract, no employees, no company. I said, I'm gonna do this. So I got the insurance, sent it to him, and he says, can you give me a quote? So I worked in the building. I knew, okay, this is how big the building is. I think it would take me about 3 hours to clean it, but I'm gonna put somebody here. I'm gonna pay them for 4 hours of work. This is how much I'll pay them. This is the margin I want. Sent the quote, and they said, can you guys start Friday? And that was like 4 days. 4 days we pulled that off. So that was my first contract.
My cheeks are hurting. I'm grinning so much from that story. I mean, that is like the ultimate founder story, folks, right? I mean, how many times have you been in just-in-time learning as a first-time founder? Oh, insurance. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to get that document. There's nothing like onboarding customers to help you button up your business, right? And make it happen, provided you're willing to take the risk, which you did, Quan, because your lived experience has prepared you to be this founder who is resilient, tenacious, and able to solve those problems. Congratulations. You got your first customer. You hustled. You did everything. You got the name. I love the alliteration of Jade Janitors. And you figured out, because, you know, as Miriam said last Friday, she goes, look, folks, we have Google, okay? We can search anything that we need. Yes, Brent, it's a beautiful story, and I'm going to pop up the artwork right here so you can see where you can buy. Oop, let me just take down your comment for a second so you can see. You can go to bit.ly/Sparrow in the razor wire, or scan this QR code, and you can grab a book right there on Quan's website. You can also, at the bottom of the screen, you'll see Quan's all his contact info. If you just go to sparrowandtherazorwire.com, you'll find it there as well. So thank you for buying a book. And if you want to donate a book as well, that would be wonderful. You know, get one, give one, so we can get this book into more prisons. We have 49 more states to go for Sparrow and the Wire. That's right. So we're all behind you here and adding wind to your sails. So now you're a business owner. I mean, you've gone from being incarcerated to becoming a business owner. How did you manage all those stories going on in your head? Because founders, let's be honest, especially first-time founders, we're telling ourselves stories about how we're not going to be able to do this, right? And those have to be diluted. And while you were inside, you put in a lot of great mindset hacks for yourself. But how did you, on the outside as well, portray yourself? Because, you know, when you're a formerly incarcerated person, you know, people working with you are going to have biases. So how did you dilute that?
Well, I mean, if you want to know about a million mistakes I made the first couple months, yeah, that I probably you check the boxes on all those. But it's just for me, it's like, you know, and I thought like because there was complaint after complaint. Like the first guy I put in, he forgot to lock some of the doors. Like it was so trying to put the right people in, and then continuing to apologize and I think what kept him from not canceling contract that first month or within the first couple of months, I think, is because I wasn't making any excuses. I was like, you know what? I'm absolutely sorry. I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna correct it, and then it just continued to go on. But suddenly, I hired someone that was formerly incarcerated, plugged them in, and suddenly the problems ceased to exist because this guy, it was like I could talk on the same level. Hey, this is all I want you to do. Like, you know how to do this already. Like, you used to clean in there. We're doing the same thing here, and it's so much easier. And suddenly I go, yeah. I know a perfect candidate pool to start choosing from. The formerly incarcerated, they know how to hustle, they know how to be resourceful, and they're willing to work, and they're loyal. And so I was like, okay, I can pay this guy more than what the standard in the industry is, but it doesn't matter because I'm providing a job and this is what I want to do. And that's when I pivoted my resources into looking for from like parole meetings, lifers meetings, and that's where I started grabbing my team. So yeah, today I might have 6 employees. 4 of them is formerly incarcerated, and you know, that's why I like by far my best workers.
Bravo. Thank you so much. But you're just like winning on every level, and not because your last name is Huynh, but because you are, you know, doing so much to help others right now. So when I know that you were inside and you saw the Sparrow in the razor wire, did you start writing your book then, or did you wait till you were out? How did the whole book come together for you?
So because I was involved with Defy Ventures, like I remember I got invited to this event called Mastermind Talks. I guess it was a very exclusive like entrepreneur event. They say like something like 30,000 people apply a year, but only 150 people can get accepted. So I guess their CEO reached out to our organization and said, like, we heard you guys have some entrepreneurs, some hustlers, and then our organization said, yeah, we have the best hustlers you ever think of. So at the time I was what's called an entrepreneur in training, an EIT, because I was a program participant. So I guess the CEO wanted to interview a few of us. I can't remember how many he interviewed, but after the interview, I was accepted to go there. And what happened is because we have a business pitch that I was supposed to go that same weekend. And I was like in first place, because back then Defy did it by placing. And the prize was $15,000 of prize money. But it's the same weekend as the Mastermind Talks. So I remember the CEO for Mastermind Talks asked me, you do realize that this our event is the same weekend as your pitch, so you won't be able to make your pitch, right? I go, yeah, I know that. He goes, so you're basically, he goes, I've talked to the people at the staff at Defy. They said you're in first place. It's almost a shoo-in for you to win this. Why would you in essence be given $15,000 to go to an event to meet? And I go, well, you know, for me, I'm confident my company can make $15,000. I think what's more important to me is the relationships and the people I'm gonna meet. Like, to meet amazing people, like that's priceless. So I that's why I did. So I got accepted to go there, and they gave me a full scholarship to go hang out with some top-notch entrepreneurs. So it was there that I met this amazing coach named Philip McKernan from Ireland, who invites me to on his stage to talk at this thing called One Last Talk. It's basically, if you were to die tomorrow and you have one last talk to give to the world, what would you say? So I did my talk there. It was at there that I also met Tucker Max, the 4 times New York Times bestseller. And he tells me after, like, hey, did you see what you just did to this audience? What if I told you I could help you scale this out 10,000 times, 100,000 times? I was like, how? And he's like, what if I told you that I'd like to bring you through our book writing process? Didn't you say that you really want to give back? Didn't you say that you used to help these guys in prison? Don't you want to continue to do that? So that's when I think January 2019, I flew out to Austin, Texas, went through Scribe Media's writing process, and that's when I started laying out my book. And every time I went back into prison, the guys in there find out, like, oh, you were a lifer? And they ask me all these questions. Like within 5-10 minutes I'm talking, I go, man, I could help this man. I could help him, but I'm not here. If I was here on this yard with him 2-3 months from now, he'd be good to go. But so that gave me continued fuel. Like, what can I share in my stories? What can I say to them in my book to help them without the book being like prescriptive? Because I noticed in my groups that I was involved in there, men, they resonated with me best, or they felt impacted by my words the best when I just shared my own vulnerabilities, my own failures and things like that. Instead of being up there with the facilitators and saying, you need to do this, it's more like, hey, this is what I thought, and this is where I failed, and this is what I learned. So that's the way I approached writing the book. And every time I just had to continue to dig and dig and dig. And that's the way I wrote it.
Oh my gosh. I'm having... You know, for so many reasons, I'm having an Andelicious moment, folks. And because we started off the conversation with Quan talking about decisions that he made, okay, that did not work out. They were not good decisions, and him examining them when he was inside. And now he had an opportunity to, like, basically a shoe-in to get $15K for his business, but because he'd become very literate at making decisions, right? Very knowledgeable at and self-aware. He said, no, this is going to be a better place for me to be because I have an even greater purpose that I need to tap into. My business is going to be fine. It's going to make money. It's going to keep moving forward. I need to serve even more and even deeper. And by saying yes to that event, Quan, oh my gosh, magic happened. Hence, you be the magician. I love that because, you know, the folks that came to your aid, and there's, you know, that wonderful quote, you know, be bold and mighty, whatever's will come to your aid. I don't know what it is, but that was another thing that you did. So that's why I'm sort of overwhelmed with Andeliciousness from this moment, because we can learn from that, folks. You know, think about the decisions that you're making. What's really important? What's the impact that you want to have with your business, whether it's generational, community, global, and who you want to serve. So thank you so much for sharing that beautiful, beautiful story. And so when did the book get published?
It was published September of last year. Yeah, I started January 2019, locked in the manuscript January 2020. And then from there was cover design and everything else. And we published September 15th.
Oh, congratulations. That is a huge. And you are, I know you're having an impact, and rather than trying to be there one-on-one with folks, right? You're now able to send the book in and be there for them in a greater volume, so to speak. And it's my belief too, that authors are creative entrepreneurs, folks, okay? They have to do everything a founder does to package and price and promote their books. Sometimes they have to get a publisher and an agent. They have to bring people on, you know, and this building this awareness and getting folks to purchase and leave reviews. What have you learned from that process?
Let me see. I remember, okay, my book is written for, you know, and I say it's for the men that I left behind, you know, and that's my dedication, for the men that I left behind. But so I knew that's my target audience, but that's not my target customer. I can't market to them. I can't sell it to him. And I never felt right marketing to the families of the incarcerated. So I didn't know how do I get these books in? So I decided for the first week of launch to, after consulting with the publishing team, that we said, okay, let's do a 1-for-1. So for every book that's purchased, I would match it to donate to give into prison. So that first week of launch, we ended up matching enough to get over 1,300 books into prison, which is quite good. Man, that's 1,300 lives that are impacted right there. Hopefully, and I know how books are, like, especially how I was with books. Like, if someone gives me a good book and it's good, I continue to pass it on. So hopefully, that's what I was hoping. Like, let these seeds like continue to plant and let them bloom where they can, for each of these men or women that are reading it. And then I think even leading up to the launch, I remember that I go, oh, let me create a website. What do I want to say on it? What do I want to do? So I started doing that, and then somebody signs up on my mailing list, and then they said, okay, give a chapter away. So I give the first chapter, and then so once they start the mailing list, and I go, what am I going to say? So the second week I send out the mailing. I go, I'm going to send out another chapter, because I reverse engineered it all the way up into my launch day, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to give a chapter or two every week until the whole book, and then at the day of the launch, just remind people, hey, it's now out. You've read it. If you want an actual physical copy or help support my mission. And that's where the bulk of my purchases for donation was from that giving those chapters away. And I remember somebody had messaged me like, what are you doing? You're devaluing your work. I said, why? They said, you don't just give it away. And I was like, I don't know. I feel I'm giving this away. I don't think I'm actually giving anything away. I go, I'm letting people share. They're reading a PDF. I think me being a book reader, I know I'd rather hold a physical copy of a book than read it electronically. And even if they don't like, if they don't like the book, they're not. So for me, it just didn't feel like the ask is easier as I've been writing.
Yeah, anybody in marketing right here will tell you, those teaser moments are so key. What happens is you connect with your audience and word of mouth starts happening. Oh my gosh, I read this great chapter. That you never lose by doing that, ever, ever. That you made, again, another outstanding decision. See, you are a natural founder, just saying. And founders, can you see what I mean about authors having to do exactly what you're doing and getting the word out about their books? Hey, Hardship TV, thank you for tuning in. Great story. Thanks for sharing. Oh, I'm so grateful for that comment. It is a phenomenal story. Thanks for swinging by and joining us. And yeah, Carthy, so inspiring. I have had goosebumps many times throughout the show today. And that's right, Asia. So proud of you and your team. I am too. I just feel so good for you, Quan, and everything that's happening for you. And thank you, Brent. Head on back to work. I'll see you on Twitter. Absolutely. Alicia, Asia, yay. Asia bought one, and for her dad for Father's Day. Okay, so check this out.
Thank you, Alicia.
Asia was in prison. Her dad was in prison for 20 years and is free and maintaining.
Nice.
So good. So good. So good. Thank you so much for your support, Asia. Really, that's awesome, awesome, awesome. And for anybody who's tuning in now or later, here's the scoop. It's bit.ly/Sparrow in the Razor Wire will take you right to the book, or visit sparrowintherazorwire.com, or scan the QR code if you're watching the video and jump in there and take advantage. Oh, great. Yay, Carthy. Just got the audiobook. Thank you. Woo! Love to see that.
That was exhausting reading it, but I loved it. But yeah, it was exhausting doing the reading for that.
Oh, I bet. Right. I see people doing the work for the audio, and my gosh, thank goodness for good editors, right? Yeah. Jeez, because you have to do it again and do it again. And so, yes, to answer the question, Asia, there is an audiobook. Yay!
Do you know for the audiobook, it's somebody's job was to sit outside to read what I'm reading to make sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. But then, so I didn't know, I guess that's the sound engineering. That's what he was following me. And then after the first hour, we stepped out, and then he looked at me, he goes, oh my God, that's your story? And then I go, yeah, didn't you read? He goes, no, I never read these things. I I just follow along, making sure you're reading it. So that's his job. And so we stop, repronounce that last sentence, and we just go. So he did it really fast, but it was still exhausting. It took like 3 days.
I bet. And it is why I've seen, authors come off, on their Instagram stories, right? and comments going, oh my gosh, that was so hard. I thought writing the book was hard. Reading it was even harder. So let's talk a little bit more about Defy, because I want to send out really good vibes to this amazing organization. Can you just give everybody a quick synopsis of how they serve the world and how you serve the world through this organization?
Sure. Defy Ventures is a nonprofit. Our mission is to transform the lives of the formerly incarcerated through the journey of entrepreneurship. It's also a twofold mission because we're looking to change the narrative of what it means to be incarcerated, and also to get, it's almost like a mission, because when we bring people into proximity of those that are incarcerated, a lot of business owners and a lot of CEOs, entrepreneurs feel like there's this kindred connection, and then it starts changing people's mindsets of
hey, listen,
what it means to be
some folks who are in jail were hustling just in an illegal way, and I'm sure they can take those skill sets now and put it towards something legally as well. But this, you're absolutely right. The CEO of your own life. Entrepreneurship teaches us so much. And I really love that Defy Ventures, and I've mentioned this earlier too, this forgotten community. You go and you get put into prison, things happen. And as you've heard Quan share, being able to use that time in a way that helps you shift, grieve, come out, and be part of lowering the recidivism rate is really, really remarkable. So I know Defy Ventures is giving just a huge lift, even just in the entrepreneurship and training.
And it looks like the prisons are going to open. The prisons are opening up pretty soon again. So,
right.
I mean, any of your listeners want to go into prison with me and my team, just reach out to us. Let us know. There's plenty of ways to get involved. We have post-release events, workshops. During the pandemic, we pivoted as an organization for all our post-release to do everything virtual. I think in 2020, we did over 80 events alone just in Southern California, virtual events. We had pitch competitions that were done online, business coaching. Yeah, so get involved with us.
I love that. All the links are in the show notes, everyone. So I will have, for Defy Ventures, of course, for Sparrow, in the Razor Wire, everything, all the links will be in the show notes. So what is your North Star today? The why that compels you to keep moving forward and with purpose and dedication. And as you just said, changing the face and the narrative of what it means to be a formerly incarcerated person. Because folks, you can imagine the limiting belief in your own head as a formerly incarcerated person, let alone someone who's looking at you. How's that going?
Yeah, I would have to say my main mission is to get my book into every prison in the United States. I remember I was on a coaching call, and the people had challenged me to say, how many, this is like before my book, I think, came out, and they said, how many of your books do you want to bring into prison? Like, how many books do you want to sell or donate? I can't remember what the question was. And I go, yeah, I think they asked, how many books do you want to sell? And then I started researching, and I go, there's 2.5 million prisoners in the United States. But then there was a part of me that felt, I don't want to say 2.5 million. That's too grandiose. And who am I? Like, that sounds egotistical. And that was that struggle. So then when I went back on the call with them, that's when I shared this internal struggle I had with wanting to say it. And then they're asking me, yeah, because it sounds to you like preposterous, right? Like this, yeah, I go, yeah, like all of that. And then he goes, why have you framed it in that context? Why can you not look at this as the greatest act of love you could do for those that are still inside? And it was a mind shift for me. So I was like, oh, he's absolutely right. So that's going to be my greatest act of love right now, is to get my book into every prison in the United States.
I love that. The stories we tell ourselves, I got to tell you, those kind of stories need to be dissolved. And you had someone who held up and said, hello, that doesn't need to be that way. I love, those are the people, they show up. The teachers when you need them. All of that is so powerful. Asia, there are more prisons than colleges. So Defy Ventures and your book is really, really needed. So, you've been an entrepreneur and helping with Defy Ventures for how long now? Since 2016?
4 years.
4 years? Yeah.
4 years.
So as you shared some great mindset hacks along the way. So we're all taking that with us. How has this journey, this entrepreneurship journey, served you both personally and professionally?
Well, I mean, there's days when I pinch myself. I go, this is my work is I get to help men and women coming home from prison, like adjust. And it's a reminder because I remember as a little boy, my father created the Vietnamese Refugee Association. He worked at the coal mines when we came to the U.S. But then he created Vietnamese Refugee Association because he spoke English well. So he helped other Vietnamese refugees like basically readjust to their new homeland and do their social security, do their paperwork. And I remember as a little boy, I get to travel with him to like on his long road trips from Utah to like Wyoming or Colorado. And then I asked Dad like why it didn't register with me like why is my dad doing this for free? This doesn't make sense. But I loved traveling with him. And it wasn't until now I go, you know what? Now I know why my father was doing it. And there's a part of me that feels, I also get to help people returning to adjust to their new homeland or to their new world. So
right.
I see parallels. So I go, this is what I get to live up to what my father was doing.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you for that. And, your dad gave you such a great role model initially, right? And now you're able to see how he served the world and how there's some parallel components to how you're serving the world right now. What are some last words you'd love folks to know before we wrap up this incredible conversation?
I would like them to know that, well, I'd like to share that I believe like every human being is worth salvaging. So, I mean, everyone has the capacity to change at any given moment. So, I mean, that's how I try to look at it.
Yeah.
And it helps me to walk through this world seeing it in a much kinder, gentler light.
That's right. And that's everyone has the capacity to change, right? Everyone has the capacity to change. You are not locked in, folks, to any behavior, to any story, to any circumstance. And we have a shining light example right here with the amazing Quan Huynh, founder, author, advocate, a mountain of goodness, a magician. I mean, everything coming out of some horrific circumstances, not letting that define who he is today. Very, very, very powerful. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you for joining me, Quan. I'm going to pop you into the green room while I say goodbye to folks and wrap this up, but don't go anywhere because I want to have a big virtual hug with you. But thank you so very much for joining us today. Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I just can't get enough of you. I'm going to be following you everywhere you glow. All right, folks. Okay. I mean, seriously, I had so many goosebumps along the way. I learned so much from Quan's journey, from his lived experience. And really, I want you to take in that, the circumstances in life do not have to hold us and cage us. Okay. We can come out and change that story, dissolve the bars around us from that story, and create a new life. Shift happens. Okay. Hashtag shift happens. I agree, Asia. I'm so grateful for Quan's story. She's saying thank you so much for your story today, Quan. Let me share with you who's coming up this Friday on the Startup Life Live show. It is Anita Gardine, and she's the co-founder and CEO of Aniva. And here we go. This is a woman who saw a problem and said, well, no one's solving it, so I'm going to. She's a working mother and caregiver to her mom, and she was facing her own frustrations and finding trusted care for her family through the existing marketplace. And she said, enough. I am imagining in a platform that helps the career for caregivers while providing an enticing and essential employer-provided benefit to client employees. And this woman, Anita, believes both access to trusted care and earning a living rate for delivering that quality professional care are human rights. And she has created this amazing business. I'm so excited to share her with you. She'd been in large corporate for decades. And when she transitioned with this amazing idea, she partnered with Microsoft to make it happen, to help build it and have them be her first customer. You talk about an ultimate customer acquisition story. She's amazing. And so I really hope you can tune in on Friday for Fab Female Founder Friday, June 18 at 12 noon. You know, I need this more than ever, and perhaps you do too, the old Winnie the Pooh quote from A.A. Milne, because it is so true today more than ever. You're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and oh yeah, smarter than you think. You're amazing, and I really am sending you so much love and gratitude for the hard work that you're doing out there every single day. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Wishing you a delicious day wherever you are. Bye.